because my business is very important to me and it's important that it's very successful. The being fierce about protecting my community has helped my business grow exponentially because people trust it.
Search, social, and mobile. These are the agents of change. Welcome to the weekly podcast where we unravel the mysteries behind digital marketing so that you can succeed and grow your business. And now, your host, Rich Brooks.
Welcome. This is Rich Brooks, and you're tuned in to the Agents of Change podcast, the podcast that's for marketers, entrepreneurs, and small business owners just like you. We're looking to make sense of digital marketing so you can grow your business and generate more leads online. As always, this episode, 251, is powered by Flight New Media. Hey Alexa, play the podcast, The Agents of Change.
Getting the latest episode of Change Agent. Here it is.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, can you play podcasts?
Yes, I can play podcasts. Just ask for the podcast you'd like to play. For example, you can say play the podcast Radio Lab.
Play the podcast, The Agents of Change. Hey Alexa, play the podcast, The Agents of Change.
Getting the latest episode of Change Agent.
Alexa, stop. Well, I might have not had a good time talking to Alexa right there, but I had a blast interviewing this week's guest, Dana Malstaff. She runs Boss Mom, and we're going to talk about how she started this movement, built her community, and is able to sell to it. It's a great story, and if you're looking to develop your own community or grow your audience, you're going to get a lot out of it. Just a reminder that we've got an amazing lineup for this year's Agents of Change Digital Marketing Conference. We've got Joel Comm, Tamsin Webster, Jen Herman, Nancy Harhead, Jennifer Priest, myself. The list goes on and on. We've also got amazing topics. We're really kind of branching out this year and tackling some things we haven't done in the past. Things like live video, storytelling, conversion rates, Pinterest, geofencing, selling on Amazon, and a big focus on local marketing. Even if you've attended Agents of Change in the past, you definitely owe it to yourself to attend this year as well. The topics and the speakers are just second to none. In my opinion, this is the just right-sized conference. We have about 400 people in attendance, and of course we do have the virtual passes as well. It feels intimate, but there's still nice breakout sessions so you can learn what you're most interested in. And you know what sucks about conferences with breakout sessions? Is the fact that you have to choose. Like, if you choose A, then you're not going to get B and C. Well, we've done away with that. We video record every single session. So go to the one that feels best for you at the day of the conference, but then we're going to send you video recordings of the presentations that you missed, including the one you saw. So you can go back and watch it as many times as you want. You're going to get you're going to get more than a day out of this day. Definitely worth checking out. And of course, if you buy the virtual pass, you get the live stream of the main stage, plus you get every single on-demand video as well. So just an amazing deal. You can join us online or in person on Thursday, September 20th and on the 21st for our optional additional workshops. You can save $150 right now on your physical tickets or $99 on your virtual pass. Just head on over to theagentsofchange.com and check out the agenda, check out the speakers, check out the amazing deals we're running right now. But don't hesitate because these tickets will sell out. Now, let's go meet the boss. CEO and founder of Boss Mom. She is a mother, author, speaker, business strategist, podcaster, blind spot reducer, and movement maker. She launched the Boss Mom brand with her first book, Boss Mom, the ultimate guide to raising a business and nurturing your family like a pro, and quickly grew to a six-figure business within a year. Now she's got over 10,000 students in various courses, helps women all over the world raise their businesses and babies at the same time. She believes that pursuing our passions and building our dreams while including our children in the process is the best way to build thriving businesses and families, and ultimately, we need to show our children that what we love can be financially viable. I'm very excited to introduce Dana Malstaff.
Hello. I am super pumped to be here.
I know. We had such a good time. Like, I met you at Jeff Con, and and we just hit it off. I really enjoyed what you were doing. I thought you put out great energy there, and I was excited to get you on the show.
Oh, well, I agree. Ditto, okay. Right back at you.
So what's the origin story? Sorry, I just saw the Avengers Infinity War, so I'm all in the superhero mode.
Oh, I'm seeing it tonight.
No spoilers. What's the origin story of Boss Mom?
Yeah. It's a little bit funny, actually, because I quit my job back in 2012. I want to say 2012, maybe. I don't know. Years are, when you get older like me, the years just sort of meld together. But I quit my job and everybody got me drunk and I got pregnant. That's basically the story.
But not everybody was involved with the second part.
Not everybody was involved. Just
okay.
My husband.
Okay,
and but we had been trying to have a kid, and it, we were trying, but not like insanely trying. We were trying, and it wasn't working. I had a job where I worked 15-hour days. We both worked long days. We were both very driven, climbing the ladder kind of thing. I made good money, and I was going to start my own consulting business. Like the day, everybody took me out, I got pregnant. So it was this sort of joke that I became a parent and an entrepreneur on the same day. And so I really embody the boss mom like terminology. But the main thing was I wanted to be a great entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to have my business. I was not going to let that go. I knew I wanted to be a great mom, but I was never really a kid person. I never babysat growing up. I was the youngest, so I didn't have anybody younger than me most of the time. And so I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was pretty darn sure I didn't want to be. I thought maybe that would change once I had the baby. But when my son Jake came, it confirmed it. I love my babies. And I love being a mom, but I am not built to have my kids with me all the time. Some women are built that way, and I love that, and I'm just not built that way. And it turns out there's a lot of women that aren't built that way, and I felt really bad about it. So I felt bad when I wanted him to take a nap or when I'd take him to daycare so that I could work at home. Home moms feel really bad half the time. And I just was surrounded by people who didn't understand why I didn't go back to work and didn't understand why I didn't stay at home. I didn't understand what I was building or what I was doing. And it felt really isolating, and it was a very uphill battle. There was a lot of crying involved, which when you have a baby, I mean, for most of the women that have a baby, I don't care how much you love them or how much you love your business, both make you cry because it's just hard. It's a hard emotional, uphill battle to figure out what you want and what you're doing and is it worth it and all those things. So I was sitting in a cafe. My son was like 2 months old. I saw this woman it looked like it was a girl with her mom and then a fresh baby. And
a fresh baby?
Like a fresh baby. Like
right off the presses.
Like right off the presses.
Okay.
Yeah, fresh baby, like super young, couple weeks old kind of thing. And it's adorable. It just like slumps over. The grandma's picking it up and it's so cute. And they're looking joyous and I start weeping. That I'm like, oh God, I want to be close to my family. And my family lives out in San Diego. And I was in Columbus, Ohio at the time in like negative 11-degree weather. So I went home and I told my husband, I want to move to San Diego. My husband was like, I will quit my job tomorrow. That is not a tough sell. And so within 2 months, we'd sold our house and moved out to San Diego. And this beautiful thing happened. Tons of people have their own business here in San Diego, and tons of people have babies while they're doing it. And all of a sudden I wasn't a crazy person. And I had these women friends who, made me feel not so bad about wanting a business and wanting a baby. And so I started to build my business. And basically a year after that, when I was helping people launch courses and doing content creation, which was my focus and content strategy, that's when I was given an opportunity with someone that was in my mastermind, Azul Turonis, who helped Pat Flynn do his book, Will It Fly? We were in a mastermind together and he's like, if anybody wants to write a book, I'll give you a great deal. And I was like, I've always wanted to write a book. And we sat down and what came out of it was Boss Mom. So I do what I did back in the day when I first started, but I didn't have the brand. When Boss Mom was born, which was born because the book helped me gain clarity on what I actually wanted to talk about and who my people were. That's when the brand was born. And when the brand came to life, that's when the beautiful things started happening. And now, like, any good entrepreneur, I fanned the flame and we boss mom the crap out of everything.
That's really interesting. So you didn't have the Boss Mom brand until you started writing the book, or you didn't get clarification around what Boss Mom meant until you started writing the book?
No, there was no brand. I thought I wanted to write a book on content strategy. And when we sat down to mind map, like what mattered to me and what I cared about, this idea of guilt kept coming up. This idea of I love to make correlations to things. I have a very creative mind. And so things kept coming up about how babies in business, how they're literally the same thing. Like you raise a business like you raise your babies. And that kept coming up. And so, when it came to it, Azul turned to me and he's like, I think you're writing a different book. And I was like, I think you might be right. And we went through that process and actually hired a copywriter to help me brainstorm names. We brainstormed like 24 book names. We narrowed it down to 3. Mom Boss was one of them. And I didn't like that. So we flipped it to Boss Mom. There was a couple other options. Boss Mom was my least favorite, though. We put it out. Everybody loved and voted for Boss Mom, like unanimously almost. And so I said, okay, well, everybody likes it, so let's do it. So I went out to 99 Designs, had somebody design the logo. Everybody in the community once again voted, and everybody voted for, again, my least favorite, which is now our logo, which I've grown to love. But I listened to the community, and that's what we made Boss Mom, which became the cover of my book, and then became so the brand was born from the book.
So that's really interesting. The reason I find it interesting is because my signature presentation is the Bare Essentials of Digital Marketing, BARE.
Yes, I totally have an email about that.
And that's all about, and that came from writing my book. I did not have that acronym in place. I kind of talked about those ideas, but I remember just working with the woman who was helping me write my book, and she's like, and I said, well, here's what I usually talk about, but I think we need to talk about building a website too, and that comes first. And all of a sudden, so that was build, and then it was attract, and then the rest of the pieces just kind of fell into place. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that the process of writing a book, it really does help clarify brands, and it certainly did in your case. I also am curious, though, so you've got this community, which we haven't talked about yet. So that community predates Boss Mom. So
No, I didn't have my own community at this time.
So who did you throw that out to?
4. So one of the big groups that I was in was called Savvy Business Owners. There was like Business and Babies. There was 4 or 5 Facebook groups that I was living in and finding my friends. That now I'm actually bigger than all of them, interestingly enough. And they're all great communities still. I just have, really found my niche and grown with it. But no, I didn't start the Boss Mom community until like 3 or 4 months after the book came out.
Okay. All right. So this is interesting. So it wasn't the fact that you already built up a community. You were just part of a community, and you asked people for feedback in the way that people do, and you got some good clarification around what you wanted to do. And ultimately, we can get to this, but you attracted this audience, you attracted this community to you because you had this strong message. You also had this strong brand in Boss Mom that probably a lot of people felt that they were part of because they helped vote for it.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I actually train people now on how to create a buzz plan, because your buzz plan is what a lot of people do is they build content and nobody ever knows about it, and then they put the content out, and then they're starting their promotion when it comes out. Which is like, why would you do that if everybody could get excited about it beforehand? So the buzz plan is everything you do to get people excited in the pre-launch, like in the part that happens before the thing's actually out into the world. So voting on what it looks like, what the words are, like before you make an opt-in for your, or for your business, then ask them 3 different opt-in choices and have everybody vote and tell you why they like or don't like something. Like we literally have free focus groups at our disposal all over the internet and all different kinds of platforms that people are not leveraging because they want to create things in a silo because they're scared to find out what they're making isn't the right thing. And then they wait and then they put it out and they put all this love and attachment into this relationship with this content. And then that content does not do what they want it to do or is not received the way they want it to be received. So like I said, I could have named Boss Mom something different. I could have given it a different logo. I could have given it a different cover. And my situation right now might might be very different. Like leverage the focus groups that are the internet by asking questions and creating buzz and excitement about it by getting people to help you make decisions about whatever it is you're doing. So I train people how to do that now for all areas of their business. But it started with the book that kind of went, oh my gosh, this is really useful. We should do this for everything.
So I really hate talking to people like you, because here's the reason. So, of course, today you and I were chatting before we get on, and I mentioned that we just launched tickets officially for the Agents of Change 2018. And did I have a buzz plan? No. Did I do? And so I'm sitting here listening to you and saying, like, wow, Rich, this is your 7th conference. How did you not do this beforehand? So even though I can't go back in time, tell me about a buzz plan. If I'll tell you like that, we have a very small nascent, do you like that word? Nascent community Facebook group for the Agents of Change. We obviously have an audience in the podcast, and we have an email newsletter that goes out where maybe I could draw people someplace. But like, if you were putting on an event, and I know you have a successful event, the Boss Mom, what do you call your Boss Mom event?
Boss Mom Retreat.
Boss Mom Retreat.
Yeah.
How do you get people excited about it? Like, what do they get to choose? Do they get to choose speakers? Do they get to choose topics?
Yeah. Okay. So some of the buzz we do, and some of the buzz for ticket sales happens even after you open ticket sales, depending on how fast they sell, right? But we would say like questions like, if anybody could come and speak at this event, who would it be? We could say, like, what's the biggest topic that you want us to talk about? And, pick from these 3 or tell us the ones, that you want. Interestingly, what I actually teach people how to, from a Facebook perspective, how to what I call prime the algorithm. Like prime the pump, which is you want the maximum amount of people to see what you're talking about. Whether they're in a group you have or not everybody's going to see stuff based on how much they engage, and because Facebook chooses what people see based on how those people engage or how engaging your content is. So what we usually do is the 2 weeks before we're going to really like want people to start seeing launching stuff, we ask questions that we know people can't help but answer. And those are based around music. Those are based around themes. Like if I'm going to say, hey, everybody, we're thinking about the entrance song when I come in. And what are you thinking, Jay-Z or JT? And people are like, they cannot help themselves, right? Or like, we want to find the one GIF that embodies what the Boss Mom Retreat is. Like, put in your favorite dance GIF because this is what we want to use. Like, or we're thinking whatever those, so we come up with 6 or 7 things. And what we do is we create a ton of engagement on posts that people can't help but post on, but say yes to and like connect with. And then Facebook thinks that I'm really engaging and they love me. So then when I start saying, hey, by the way, tickets are going on sale, or this is happening, or I need actual help with these big decisions, Facebook actually shows it to more people. So we have a prime the algorithm launch that happens like 6 weeks before. And then we have a buzz plan that happens like the month before. We're asking more questions where people feel like they've helped you decide the format of what's happening. And then they're more likely to buy tickets once it comes out. So there's a bunch of different tactics, but that's like the easiest one that I'd probably have you do.
So that's cool. First of all, so I've been doing the music thing for a while. Like I love putting together playlists anyway, so I'll come up with a theme. It hasn't been specific to Agents of Change, but I see how I could have leveraged that specifically. But I used to do that back in the day, when I was being evil. I'd be like, hey, creating a new playlist called Crime and Punishment. Give me your best song about doing something wrong, and people love to be the most clever person on. And then I would be like the next day I'd be like, so I've got a webinar coming up, and of course more people would see it because they just engaged with me the day before. Yeah,
not enough people use that actually.
Or you know what? Just the right number of people use it, because you know what? If everybody started doing it, Anyway, so those are great ideas. Anyway, in terms of getting the word out. So. I went to your website before we jumped on, and I noticed that you mentioned Boss Mom is a movement. So talk to me a little bit about that. What's the difference between starting a movement versus starting a business?
Yeah, well, I think a movement is easier to start than a business, to be honest. A business is what you sell, right? We sell things, and you have to have a business in order, you have to make money in order for it to be a business. So I think there's a big distinction. There are a lot of women that are trying to start movements and they don't know if it'll ever become a business. But there aren't enough businesses starting movements. And with, they talk about millennials and how millennials really are purpose driven, and they care about, who they're hiring, and they care about who they're buying from. And I think that is the case of everything being more visible nowadays. So you have to decide what you can no longer be a business. Let's put it this way. You can no longer be a business that doesn't have a stance on something. Like, it's becoming harder and harder to be the person that says, I start a business. Nobody's going to know who I am or what I care about. And they don't need to, because it's none of their business. Well, people have a, way of deciding what is their business, right? And so when you think about a movement, we teach people how to do what we call a movement manifesto and a movement story. And it's based off of the fact that if I can get people to shout in the rain the same things that I care about, if they can go, oh my gosh, I love so much that this person feels the same way I do, and they get me, and I feel like they make me feel better about being me, or feel accepted, or have permission for being who I am, because they have similarities and we accept each other's differences. I'm going to shout in the rain, and that happens. If you get enough people shouting out in the rain for you, then you don't have to do as much work to grow your business, right? I don't have to spend as much on advertising. We're 27,000 people in the Facebook group, and I don't do ads. Right. So that's all organic, from people deciding they want to be in the space, and from Facebook deciding that we're cool enough that they're going to recommend us. And so part of that, though, is the words we use. Like, branding, everything comes down to the words we use. And what the problem is people run businesses without deciding what their vocabulary is. But if you thought about it from a movement standpoint, like, what do you want to get people excited about? And what are the funny phrases and the type of words you're going to use to get people to feel like they've found their place? Then all of a sudden you're infusing that into your brand. You're not just a logo is not a brand, right? A brand is a feeling, is an essence that people have, that either they belong or they don't. And so if you're thinking about it that way, then really every brand is a movement. Nike is a movement. Apple is a movement. Like, all the things that have really significant brands, they're not just their brand is a brand because it moves people into action.
So that's fascinating. And I think one of the things that's true about movements is that it also there's a certain feeling of exclusivity, or maybe inclusion, depending on the way you look at it, but it's like, it's your tribe, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of those things, like, they don't expressly say who's not part of it, but I mean, Apple did with the Mac versus PC thing, and obviously if you're Nike, you want to just do it, and anybody who's not just doing it is not part of the community. Do you think of it at all like that when you're building up your community, like what you stand for, but also what you stand against?
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing is Apple is about being functional and simple. It's about, like, upsetting the status quo. Like, that's why people go there. Like Nike is about being one with who we are and with the earth. Like, they own most of, Oregon, and have, help people mulch and do different, things like that. Like, they have a very earth-based, very grounded, it's a very grounded brand. And they exude that in what they do outside of what they sell, which is part of the movement component, like who we decide to support and what we decide to do. But I think that, like, the way that we're phrasing things for our brand is massively important, so that when people go to Boss Mom, they know that we're playful, we're a little bit silly. We have a live dance party every time we hit a milestone. We just had one when we hit 25,000 a couple weeks ago. We have karaoke at my retreats. I like to use the analogies. So the Boss Mom retreat it's a mastermind, a dance party. It's a mastermind, a dance party, and a spa day had a baby. Like, that's our phrasing for it. Right. So people know, like, I talk about, hey, I didn't shower today, but I'm wearing heels and I put on makeup, so that counts. Right. That's a Boss Mom way. It's like, I'm doing the best with what I got, And so I think the movement, though, isn't just those phrases. The movement is what you decide you stand for. Right. And I'd like to say that you can't stand for something but stand for everything. Right. You can't do that. So when you decide what you stand for, you're innately deciding the things you don't stand for. But I think it's also important to recognize that things you stand for can be about inclusivity, and they can be about, like, one of our biggest phrases is no judgment, just dance party. And we will not let political or religious conversations happen in our space. And we say it's not because we don't think those conversations should be had, but we think they get in the way of our ability to talk about what we want to talk about in this group. And so we don't allow it. So if you find somebody you want to have that conversation with, we love that you've created that friendship here, but talk about it elsewhere. And so we do decide things we won't allow and things we won't stand for. And a lot of, for us, what we won't stand for is judgment for the decisions we make as parents and entrepreneurs.
So I'm hearing that part of what has made a successful community for you is standing for something, standing against some other things, having a set of rules beforehand so people know what to expect when they get into the community. Mm-hmm. What else goes into building a successful community?
Basically protecting it fiercely. We actually kick just as many people out of my Facebook group as we do let people in. I have a person, we call her the gatekeeper. Her entire job is to let people in and kick people out. I have a community manager that manages the online community. We just actually launched Boss Mom meetups. So by the time this goes live, that will probably be in full swing. We will go in and talk to people about like what they can do, what they can't do, but we also give permission. It's about like, hey, do this. And if you're doing this, this is why we're going to kick you out, but we protect it fiercely. And we do not give any leeway to what our system is and what our belief system is for the Boss Mom community, just to grow our business. The community and the movement comes first, and how it serves our business comes second. But here's the thing, because my business is very important to me and it's important that it's very successful. The being fierce about protecting my community has helped my business grow exponentially because people trust it. There was a girl on a group call today we had that actually told me that she was going to do a collaboration with somebody, and then she'd found out that they'd gotten kicked out of the Boss Mom group for something they did, and she will no longer do a collaboration with them. That's how much she trusts our system about how we decide who gets to stay and who gets to go.
Well, Dana, I am definitely going to stay on your good side. I'll just put that out there right now.
But it's not about judgment. It's just about it being a different space. Like the things that we want in our community are different than other people. And I had a girl tell me recently, she's like, Dana, I went to this quiz that was an opt-in, and then the thank you page had this horribly salesy thing that said they'd coached 1,000 people and that I needed to get on the bandwagon right now. And she's like, I hated it. It felt icky. And I was like, ew, I don't want to be like this person at all. And I said, great, look at that and see what you liked and didn't like about it and like understand it for what you're going to create in your business. I was like, but also understand that probably didn't feel salesy to a group of people. They probably looked at it and said, oh, great, because I want somebody that's coached 1,000 people and I want this. And I love that they're to the point. And I love that they're not, pulling all this other stuff and they're just being really succinct. And I'm going to go with this person. So there is a group for everybody, but not everybody can be part of my group and not everybody is going to be a part of their group. And you just decide what your group is so that all the right people are there. And then the people that don't fit, say, go to the groups where you fit. Like there is some place for you. It's just not here.
That makes a lot of sense. So you've grown. How big is your group right now? How big is the community?
The Facebook group, we're right at 27,000. Like if you include all our numbers, we're probably about like 60,000 or so, depending on where you go. But yeah, we grow, but we're good with steady growth. Like we don't want fast growth. We want steady growth that we can actually manage. I don't want people to feel unincluded or like they've been sort of just a deluge of people that come in all the time. And so we manage the pace as much as we can.
Well, obviously you started at zero and you've got up to 60,000 now. So what are some of the challenges that you faced as you've kind of scaled up this community? Because obviously a community of even 27,000 feels a lot different than a community of 2,700 or 27.
Yes. In some ways, it's less work for me because we have systems in place. So as we've scaled, we try and do new systems as much as we can. To say, hey, like on a monthly basis, go, hey, what's bottlenecking us, and how can we fix it? So I think systems help that a lot to make it growable. But the main thing is when we talk about community, I talk about it as a tribe, and not because that's a jargony, fun word to use, but because if you think about how a tribe works, everybody has a role. right? It's not just the person that's the head of the tribe and everybody else just does what that person says. Like everybody has their role within the tribe, and the tribe only functions effectively if everybody does their job. And we think of the community that way. And I think there a lot of people that end up shutting their communities down because they say it's too much work, don't build it the right way. So if you're building it the right way, we have ambassadors. And we like to think of the Boss Mom community as an ecosystem that's almost in itself the way a corporation would work, where you can climb the corporate ladder, you can climb the Boss Mom ladder. So if you engage and you're connected within the community, then the next round of ambassadors that open up, you could become an ambassador. And all of those women, their businesses grow because they get 1 week every 8 weeks to run the group. And so I don't do it. I do not do the ambassador thing. I go in separately just as the host. So their businesses grow. And then once they've done that, they can potentially be a facilitator at one of our retreats. And eventually then those facilitators can become speakers. So there's like a ladder you climb the more engaged and connected you are with the community. So women stick around because that's what they want. But it's easier for me to run it because I'm not running that group every day. In fact, I go in a couple times a day and just say things or say hi, or sometimes for a whole week, I'm not ever in that group. And so I've made it a system where I'm not the requirement for it to run. It's truly looked at as an ecosystem, as a tribe, where we have natural policemen that tell us when things aren't right. And we have natural promoters when they get excited about things. And we have natural connectors. And we see those people and we build them up so that there are multiple roles that people are encompassing as it's growing, which makes growing and scaling way less stressful.
Interesting. So it's fascinating how Boss Mom has basically gotten bigger than you, Dana. And I don't mean that in a dismissive way. I mean that in a very impressive way. In the fact that you don't need to be there every single day and it continues to succeed. And I know a lot of small business owners probably are frustrated with that. It's like if they walk away from their company or they take an extended vacation or they're afraid to take a sabbatical because they don't know what's going to happen if they're gone. So very impressive. This has been great, and I've got like 100 other questions, but I'm going to pull a Michael O'Neill, and I'm just going to call you back some other time and have you on the show.
I would love that.
So tell us, where can we find out more about you and Boss Mom online?
Yeah. Okay. So boss-mom.com is just our normal place. But for your community, one of the things that I think would be most useful is we actually have a resource that's called our free to pay journey. And one of the things I think that people miss most often when they're growing businesses and really when they're getting their brand solidified is understanding how to nurture people from free to paid content. And really brainstorming that content component so that if you're building a community, you're building a business, you're sending people in the right way with the right kind of content that actually helps you bring in revenue. And we show you how to do that. And that's just boss-mom.com/journey that I think is going to be most helpful for everybody.
Fantastic. And of course, we'll have those in the show notes. Dana, this has been fantastic. Thank you for coming on and sharing the story of Boss Mom.
Oh, thanks for having me and letting me rant.
Come back anytime. For a full transcript of this week's episode and all the links that Dana shared with us, head on over to theagentsofchange.com/251. That's theagentsofchange.com/251. Full transcript, show links, a bunch of other great stuff. And while you're there, I want you to do a couple other things. First of all, go ahead and click on one of those buttons on the right-hand side so you can subscribe to the show absolutely free on Stitcher Radio or iTunes. And of course, if you want to, you can also do it like if you're a Spotify fan, you can do it on Spotify. If you get your favorite podcasting app that you prefer, like I'm big into Overcast these days, which is an app for the iPhone, then whichever platform works for you, just go ahead, click subscribe, and get amazing digital marketing content magically delivered to your smartphone or device on a regular basis. And don't forget, while you're on the website, go check out all those amazing ticket deals we've got going on right now for the 7th annual Agents of Change Digital Marketing Conference. I hope to see you in person this September. But that's all the content we have for this week, and I'll talk to you guys again in 7.
That wraps up another Agents of Change podcast. Join us next week for another auditory adventure where we tackle search, social, and mobile marketing.